And at 5 a.m., they canceled the flight. We're driving up on the highway, and the train broke down apparently between the highway and the venue.
All right. Hey Adam, how you doing today?
Great, how are you?
Good, thank you. Let's start off by letting everybody know who you are, what you do, and what your current projects are.
All right. Well, my name is Adam Bering. I sing for the number one Zeros. It's a Chris Cornell tribute. And I'm also working on another project right now that hasn't come out yet, actually, but it's another tribute that's going to be to the System of the Down.
Very cool. I've seen you live, man. You're a fantastic vocalist. So singer
Oh
to
my
singer,
God,
you are amazing.
thank you so much. I feel like I don't know. I have that syndrome. I think people talk about where you feel like you're faking it all the time, and it's like you don't really know what you're doing. You're just trying to do your best. And I know there's people out there who think they're amazing or whatever. I'm not one of those people. I'm just trying to do it, and sometimes I feel like it sounds pretty good.
No, I can't take a compliment either, man. I blush up.
Thank you. I thank you.
It's
So.
uncomfortable for me too. All right, so I'll move on here. Adam, what's something you wish people understood more about musicians and maybe touring travel?
Wow. So music is a tough racket. I mean, it makes me think of that scene from Glengarry Glen Ross. Music is a tough racket, and it's not a meritocracy. It's filled with people who are trying to rip you off, people of questionable ethical makeup, and even then, it's all this art form that kind of falls on people's uh, uh, subjective ear. But when it works right, there's this amazing feeling for everyone. A changing, the audience changes, the band changes, everyone feels this incredible thing that comes from the sound. So about musicians is it's a tough racket, and people should like you want to respect teachers and pay them well. You should respect musicians and artists and pay them well. And I don't think the system really is set up that way in the United States.
What's the furthest you've ever traveled for a gig?
So it was Nashville. It was the longest drive was to Nashville from here. But we flew once up to Cincinnati and played in a casino up there. But my the greatest travel story is I think for us was back when I had a slightly different group. We had two gigs planned: a Friday night in Baton Rouge and Saturday night in Pensacola, and we had a 6 a.m. flight out of Fort Lauderdale, and at 5 a.m. they canceled the flight, and so everybody showed up at my house ready to go to the airport, and so we just had to, we weren't going to cancel, and so I couldn't believe it, but we pared down our stuff and we Tetrised everything into my Acura TLX, and the four of us drove. We left. We made it on time. We played the shows,
Wow.
and we got home. But it was a nightmare of driving.
It's the things that the audience they don't really understand, the things that we go through just to get the product on stage.
Yeah, you think about the performances. Oh, it's an hour, it's 2 hours, it's an hour and 40 minutes. But there's all the practices, and then just for the gig itself is, there's a shit ton of travel usually to and from. And hopefully if you've got some good, routing, that kind of minimizes that. But I never was a full-time tourer. I've never been a full-time on tour. Um, playing big shows is just a fantasy for me, really.
Have you or any of your bandmates ever gotten hurt on stage?
Gotten hurt? Uh, I don't think so. Not that I can remember. I mean,
That's good.
I
That's a good
always,
thing.
yeah, I worried about twisting an ankle sometimes. I worry about what shoes to wear so I don't get hurt. But that's about it. I don't think anybody got hurt that I remember.
Have you ever experienced any embarrassing moments while performing on stage?
Oh yeah. Well, so what do you play?
Lead singer and rhythm guitar.
So, occasionally a word or a phrase doesn't come on command when it's supposed to be there. It's not there. It just happens sometimes. And so you just try to, you know, that happens. But the thing I love about performing, which is what attracts me to it, and not one thing, but one of the things is, to me, it's almost like racing a motorcycle at the Isle of Man, right? You're For me, trying to sing Chris Cornell is like beyond the edge. It's over the line of control. And so like that's how I imagine these motorcyclists. They're just kind of flying and they're trying to hold the line and not end up in a brick wall. And singing Chris Cornell to me is kind of like that, like a high speed, lane changing, slippery roads, and your voice wants to give out, and the slightest little thing, and you know, and the horrible sound comes out of your mouth. And that is embarrassing. It happens, and that's
For the best of them, yes.
without that risk, there's no. If anybody could do it, then it wouldn't be special, I suppose,
Of
right?
course. It
But
kind of leads into
so
the next question of
yeah,
at a show, have you ever had to push through an illness? Like, what's the most sick you've ever had to perform?
I've worried about that, but I wasn't. Uh, yeah, I don't think I ever got like full out sick, but I've worried about my voice. Like, what if I have a show at Revolution or something, and like the last thing I would want to do is let them down, and
Of course,
and
yeah.
so I get afraid. Maybe I don't want to be around anybody who coughs for a couple of days.
Sure, yeah. I still wear a mask when I go on a plane. I don't want to take any chances.
Yeah, so that does concern me before a show because really, with vocals, it's not like a guitar. The guitar is either working or it's not. And I guess you could break a finger or you don't, but and that's happened too. Like I know I cut my pinky one time, and so I couldn't really press on the guitar for a while. So that's happened.
Do you ever get nervous before going on stage?
I have and had in the past, and then it seems to have gone away lately.
Nice.
In part because what I do by day is I'm an attorney. I'm a trial attorney, and when I think about the what's at stake a lot of times at work and being on that stage, I feel like in some ways it lessens the burden on me of when I sing because I feel like, well, nobody's going to jail or nobody's going to lose money, nobody's going to go out of business, nobody's going to, there's the only thing that could happen is I could look bad for a moment, and so that doesn't really scare me too much.
Yeah, I've had to learn to get out of my thoughts. I'm a chronic overthinker, and I can think of a million things at once, and it wigs me out.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so much is about performance, I suppose, comes from mental. What how you're thinking, how you're feeling. I always found like doing something relaxing before going on stage is always nice, and just like almost nothing, hanging out. Definitely not drinking. I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know how people play. I've heard one of my friends said something like, for every drink you have, you make two mistakes or something like
Oh
that, or
wow.
I don't
I
know,
believe
whatever it
it.
is.
Yeah.
There's some kind of correlation between the number of alcoholic drinks and probably.
But I hear you. I like to relax before a show. Some guys get all amped up and juiced up and pumped. I'm the opposite. I want to relax, calm down, slow down my breathing, get control.
Mhm. And then I usually try to take some espresso, just given my advanced age.
It's all good. While performing, have you ever had a security situation or a show had to be paused due to a wild fan?
Oh, I wish. No, no, that's like I've seen people do things to other musicians, but I haven't seen any. No, I haven't really seen anything like that. And I guess I don't. I was joking. Obviously, I don't wish. I think it's good. I saw something recently where Adam Levine got touched by some woman, and he was like, "Yeah," and I could understand. You don't know who's coming at you at any given time, so I guess it's. You don't want to be grabbed by strangers usually.
Have you ever experienced like a flat tire or car trouble on the way to a show, or maybe got lost on the way?
Sort of. I worry about it, but it hasn't happened, thank goodness, knock on wood.
Yeah.
And but we did one time where we're going to play at Matthews in Lake Worth and Matthews Brewing. By
Yeah.
the way, shout out to Dave Matthews, an awesome proprietor who supports all of the local musicians and bands and the young bands. Oh my God, Maximum Friction, right? That's a name and people who are coming up because of that venue and because of Dave. But it led me to a funny story, which is that one night we were playing there. We were driving up on the highway, and the train broke down apparently between the highway and the venue, and none of us know our way around that area. And Dave texted us, don't get off at this exit, get off at that exit, and don't go this way, go that way. And of course, the message didn't get out to everyone. And so some of us were there on time, and the drummer got caught in some crazy traffic. And I mean, it was just
Of
like the
course, the
whole
drummer with
town.
the biggest setup.
Yeah, the whole town was like shut down basically and I mean, it was just like a gridlock through the whole town that night. And Dave was worried we weren't going to be able to start on time, and we were able to get a substitute drum kit up on stage even, and then the drummer got there like 5 minutes before we were supposed to start. And I can't remember if we did the sound check, whatever, beforehand, but we got the show off. And people drank beer and we played music, and it was a good time.
Nice. Have you ever had crazy weather delays like lightning, tornado?
Well, we got canceled one time at Revolution because there was a hurricane warning.
Uh,
And one time, like I said, we got I don't know, was that before we went on? I was telling you about the trip up to
Louisiana or
Baton Rouge. Yeah,
yeah.
that was because the flight got canceled. But I feel a great desire to live up to my word when we make a contract to show up somewhere and play somewhere. You
Absolutely.
know, even if they cancel the flight, we'll get there. That's what you got to do.
Have you ever had to change plans last minute before going on? Like maybe someone didn't make it to the show or something broke down on you? Equipment?
There's always a little bit of that. I think you got to kind of do things on the fly and try not to stress out about what happens. Either a charger doesn't show up, or a microphone, or a piece of something or other. It's somebody doesn't have their full comfortable setup and they have to make do. But I'll tell you, it does cause some problems sometimes. If people don't have all the right stuff, you can't hear yourself properly. I mean, that can just happen anyway. If you got the monitors aren't set up right, or the mix isn't right, or for whatever reason, some kind of issue, you can't hear yourself, you can't do your job well, unfortunately, right?
Yeah, people don't realize. I think when things go all right, that's like a miracle. Like usually things don't go right, and we just push through it. We improvise.
That's kind of why I like feel like it's sort of like that racing, the motorcycle racing, is because you just have to deal with other riders and traffic and road conditions and high speeds, and you just negotiate the turns and make it sound good.
Do you have any pre-show rituals or post-show traditions?
Oh, I love to go out to breakfast after a show,
Oh, nice.
because I always have you burn a lot of calories,
Sure.
and so I'm hungry and usually hopped up on some kind of emotion, afterwards, especially with a good show, right? Maybe if it was a bad show, you want to go home, but if it was a good show, I love to go out. I love to go to what's that place? Jack's Diner down in Hollywood. They're open 24 hours.
Right.
It's just north of the Circle there on Federal. What a great place. And so, like, you could show up there, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., get whatever you want. And, there's other people there, maybe some people from the show too.
It's definitely worth celebrating. What we go through is tough, and it should be celebrated on your success. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that. Plus, it's good bonding for the guys after the show, right? You
Absolutely.
talk
Yeah.
about what went right, what went wrong. Let's cut down the time between these two songs. And, can you believe how, oh my God, I have to tell you a funny story. So
Please.
we played at the Hard Rock in Daytona,
Ah, yeah.
and after the show, I guess Daytona's kind of a freaky place because several of us were propositioned by different people for different kinds of group action, not musical. Or I suppose there could have been music involved, but that wasn't clearly the intent.
Somebody on the street or somebody in the audience?
Random people just up there while we were up there. So it's just funny, just because I don't see any of us as necessarily anybody who any kind of Brad Pitt in the group.
What are some of the most interesting accommodations you've gotten for a gig, whether it was like food, buffet, maybe hotel, gifts, special
Yeah,
access?
the Hard Rock was great. They give us nice rooms, wonderful rooms, and I think when we played the casino up in by by Cincinnati. That was really nice. We had nice rooms and a nice food budget and everything. I don't like to eat too much before a show, though. Anyway,
Yeah. Other than your gear, what are some of your must-have items that you always bring with you to your shows?
so this is something. Yeah, I love to tell anybody who wants to sing that a must have crucial piece of equipment is in-ear monitors. If you want to sing, I feel like if anybody wants to sing, it should a must have piece of gear because I don't know, maybe I'm just deaf because I can't hear myself well through monitors normally, like wedges or whatever. And you know, doing trying to do what you do as a singer, being able to hear that kind of high fidelity of what's coming out of your mouth. It's important.
Yeah. What's the funniest thing you've ever seen on stage or even out in the audience?
The funniest thing, well, there's been some crazy stuff, but I don't know. Funniest, I saw a band playing where I don't know, this isn't really funny, but it was funny to me at the time, which maybe is revealing about me. I'm sorry, but
Eh,
there was a
let it roll.
singer, there was a singer singing. Uh, he was great. and his beautiful girlfriend was at the side of the stage, and there was a woman in the front row who had her hand up, with her hand basically right in front of his genitals,
Uh,
and she wasn't touching him, but she was motioning with her hand, and the look on his girlfriend's face was,
oh boy.
I
Trouble.
mean, is that funny? Am I wrong for thinking that's funny?
It's fair. I think it's fair.
I mean, it's not funny. It was sad, really, but in a way, it's kind of like the weird shit that happens. That's kind of funny.
What are some of the most unusual places you performed at?
Back in college, we got a gig. I was in a band called Dr. Bombay, and we got a gig in a barn outside of a Midwestern college. It's out in nowhere. And we got there and set up, and there was nobody there. And we were, playing in the barn, and then we see some lights coming down the road, and it's this big U-Haul truck. And they get there, and they roll up the back door, and it's like an entire fraternity sorority party. I I don't remember if it was probably between 100 and 200 people that just came piling out of a big, like, no, it couldn't have been that many people because of the box truck size, but they were packed in there. It certainly wasn't legal or safe how they got there, but it was a crazy gig in a barn. How about you?
Oh man, I've played at a bris before. I've
No
played
way.
a yeah.
What? Wait. What's your set list at a bris?
It was a Tom Petty tribute show, and he was a big Tom Petty fan. So he
Oh my
hired
God.
us. It's a private event.
Is there any uh
We-
is there any Tom Petty song that's particularly applicable to a bris?
No, but it was a little awkward. But he was a
I
great
was
guy.
I'm sure you don't want to, yeah. I just had thought of it recently because I posted a thing about a Seinfeld bris episode
Oh,
where
weird.
the Moyle is like freaked out, and Kramer tries to take the baby and rescue him from getting
Ah,
circumcised.
I played at a nudist resort, like 300 naked people.
Oh my God, did they make you disrobe?
It was optional, but we chose not to. But
Not
it
even
felt
like
awkward being the only one with clothes on.
that's what I bet, but you could have gone like a sock, like Red Hot Chili Pepper style.
I know, man. I wasn't up for it.
No,
I
okay.
wanted to be in character, I guess. Um, what's the biggest crowd you've ever performed for?
So that would be with when we opened for Nirvana and for In the End at House of Blues. Both of those times, I seems like they were capacity crowds. By the way, I saw something incredible that I thought was that I found really interesting when In the End played when we opened for them at House of Blues. After the show, they had a line of people coming up to them to meet them and shake their hands, and they had some merch upstairs too, but it was more experiential, people meeting them and wanting to talk to them. And they had a line of people, and I had never seen this for a tribute band and or anything like that. And then I saw people coming up to Chris Hodges. You know who Chris is?
No.
He's the lead singer for In the End.
Okay.
Amazing, talented vocalist, and people would come up to him shaking and crying,
Oh,
and you know it it was it took me a long time to process that because I saw it happening, and I was like, what's going on here? I didn't really understand it because, I know him as sort of a co-worker, if you will. But I mean, he's a great singer, but I mean, I wasn't there as a fan. I was there to work and to see people affected this way. It just kind of it changed my thinking about the music in a way because I saw how people were really extremely affected deeply affected more than I got into doing it maybe for more selfish reasons. I enjoy playing music and I want to have fun, and it seemed like a big thrill and a challenge. And but when people come to you crying that this was great or that was great or it made them feel this or that, it's more than I had expected. And in a way, it's really, I came to understand it's really the why any of it happens is because people come there to have these experiences, and to be a part of that is just, it's a huge something to be grateful for.
It's happened to me too. It's hit me deep too. I've had people cry, come up to me because it reminds them of maybe their mom passed away or dad, and that was what they bonded over, and you brought that memory to them. So that really hits.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing about music. I heard recently something about that the sound waves hitting people and the hearing and the mind thinking, hearing, that it literally changes people on a molecular level while they're listening to the music. And so, that's kind of this level of examination of the whole process that people, you don't really get down to that nitty gritty, like we're changing molecules. But the fact is, you're throwing out these waves and people are having these emotions. It's true. That's why they come, and that's why I go. That's why I go to shows because, in fact, I was just at a show last week with uh, Bounce, where Tim Tolson started singing "Don't You Forget About Me," which had threw me back in time to my prom, and he sounded just like the guy, and I just in that moment I just was back there, remembering my junior year in high school.
I think music is the only real magic that we have. It literally can take you back in time. You can smell things, taste things, remember things that music can take you there. It's truly magic.
It really is. It really is. So yeah, that's again another reason to be just. I'm so grateful to do anything with it. It's a tremendous charge, and when it works well, it's just there's nothing like it. I'm sure you get that rush.
Yeah. Is there anything you haven't done yet in music that you still want to do? You have any goals, dreams?
Again, it's very selfish in a way because I just was thinking, I always wanted to play a huge stadium, 100,000 people or whatever, big, uh, uh, the biggest venue that you could possibly do and have people, you know, loving it. And in fact, before, oh, you mentioned a pre-show ritual that I had forgotten about.
Sure.
I saw a video of Nonpoint, which I've never seen their show, but I saw a video and they were playing and it looked like this sort of open warehouse or something. And there must have been 4,000 people in front of them. And everybody was jumping up and down in unison. Bam, 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 bam. The whole crowd. And there was this amazing energy. And so I used to look at that before the show and try to like project that into the crowd if I could. And it happened one time we were at Revolution, which is one of the reasons I love that place. That place is such high energy, just
Yeah.
this up and down, like they were going, there were crowd surfing happening, and oh, it was great. It was great. But yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, no, it's all good, man. I was wondering if there was any specific venues like that you want to play that are on the map for you.
So I had on my little bucket list, I guess, if you will, I wanted to play the Whiskey A Go Go in LA.
Uh,
And so when I was out there in LA on some business. I walked in, I checked out the band, and I said, this is not out of our league. We're on par with these guys. And so I got connection with the guy, I sent a video, and they offered us a date.
Wow.
And I was like, but they wanted to pay like $400.
That's not even going to cover the flights. Yeah.
No, not even like for me, round trip, whatever. But
Damn.
uh, I wasn't gonna, pay to play. But we, in fact, were invited and offered a date. But when I tried to go for more, as you will know, what happens is you get ghosted.
Of course.
And so when I tried to get like some real money, it was over.
Are there like any non-traditional venues or like random locations you'd love to have a concert at? Like somewhere weird you wouldn't think?
Because I really kind of fell in love with all the Chris Cornell music and the Cornellians, if you will, the people who love Soundgarden and Audio Slave. And so, my fantasy is maybe to play Brazil or Argentina or South America, somewhere where they're crazy about Soundgarden and Chris Cornell, Audio Slave, and somewhere, like there's that great Chris Cornell from Cuba or Audio Slave in Cuba, I think, live. It's a great performance. So, I kind of was thinking I'd love to play in Seattle at, some of the places maybe that he'd played before. Try to, I like the idea that, people would come out to see it because, we're trying to keep it alive and not just trying to copy something. And so, yeah, I'd love to play some of the iconic places maybe that he played, or to any of those places where, some of his fans would, who miss him would want to hear it.
All right, last question today before we wrap it up. If you could talk to your younger self, what advice would you give them?
Well, so, again, about music, and this is maybe, well, for me, I'm like I said, I don't feel like I'm that talented. So the advice I got was don't quit your day job
Hmm.
after people heard me sing. And so it was probably meant as an insult or maybe as whatever. But so I think, the like we were talking about before we got started, music business is not much of a business. It's a tough racket that um, you kind of need to have. It's hard to make it as a musician unless you just like go all in, you're ready to live out of the trunk of your car, uh, unless and until you make it. And if you don't, living out of the trunk of your car.
Yeah. Starve,
You
be
know,
hungry, play for tips. It's incredible how much that you have to sacrifice.
so I mean, it's important to try to keep a steady income. Otherwise, I think, aside from music, and unfortunately, but I guess it keeps the best at the top, maybe, I guess, but it's hard. It's hard. It's a tough racket, even for the best people. I mean, like, I don't know. You see like guitarists like Denver Cooper, right? Amazing guitarist. To me, that guy should be, on the Grammys or on some kind of, you know, but he's playing shows with me. Sorry to insult him that way.
No, it's weird because we'll play some venues that I grew up. Some of my idols were playing. Like we'll see the marquee, the poster, and my band's there, and you see like Puddle of Mud, Saliva, or whatever.
Exactly.
All these venues, and
Kudos to you
I'm just
also.
like, whoa! I grew up on these guys. And we're sharing the same green room.
Yeah, so my advice, I think I gave a bunch of stuff here. The in-ears, the don't
Yep.
drink before the show, keep your day job, and you got to watch out for all these characters trying to steal your money.
Yeah. Where can we find you, man? You have a website, Facebook, where we can check out your bands?
Yeah, so Adam Bering is on Facebook, and the number 10 is on there too. And when I come up with something else, we'll actually we did just start the System of the Down tribute. It's called System Down, and it's but it's we haven't really started posting much of anything. There's just a couple of clips right so far, but
That sounds wild.
we got a we got another practice this weekend, and I think we're going to start booking some shows after that. So keep an eye out for some screaming harmonies.